Hey everybody, Rob Orgel with Silencer Syndicate. In this video, I wanted to do a deeper dive into the Huxwrx suppressors. Now, many of you have been following this channel for a while, and you know that I don't particularly like Huxwrx. In my opinion, they're kind of like a blast can. They really don't do a great job of sound suppression. And at the East Valley Tactical event, they had the full-size 556 suppressor, which I already wasn't interested in. And some of you may have even made some great comments about how forward I am, even to their sales rep, about how much I don't really care for their suppressors. Well, I shot it on that day and I was pretty impressed. So I asked and they sent out one. Now, here's some interesting things. When the industry speaks, they're in the business of selling stuff. So usually I don't pay attention to what they have to say, but I do take notes. And the first note was that it's just an elongated K. And what I found so far is it's already definitely not a just elongated K. It's actually a fatter suppressor. And then it also feels almost lighter than the K. So there's more going on than just an elongated 556 flow K. So is it interesting? Well, I can tell you the 556 flow K does good because you can put it on different systems, but it needs to sound a lot better before it's truly interesting to me. So hopefully they fix that with a full-size 556. Is it going to change my mind? Well, okay. There's the test version on the range where they modify different parts and pieces, and you don't really get to know what they did to that rifle. And then there's a real test. So today we're going to dive into a real test and see if the Huxwrx Flow 556 full size can change my mind. All right, so for today, we're going to do a handful of tests with a lot of different systems, to include some 22 type stuff, because we did receive the Huxwrx 22 suppressor. And I have to say, initial impressions, I'm very impressed with it, but we've got a lot more testing to do. So we've got a few different hosts, a few different suppressors to compare the Huxwrx. Moving over, we've got our standard back pressure test that you all know about, so we can find out exactly how much the flow K is different from the full-size flow, and then the usual type stuff to make sure it is still a low back pressure suppressor and not just an elongated K, and see how that affects things. Moving further back, we've got a handful of other weapons. This one is for a different experiment. However, we've got a really challenging rifle to suppress, and that's an HK416 style clone. It's got one of the Brownells uppers, and at 10.3 inches, it's a piston system. There's no adjustability, and if you don't have a very low back pressure suppressor, it does cause issues. So it's a hard rifle to suppress, so we'll see how the full-size flow does on that. Next, I've got another one of the Brownells uppers. This is the Bren 180, I believe they call it. And this too, it does have a gas setting for suppressed, but it's extreme. So it's either unsuppressed or full back pressure suppressor. There's no middle space for any medium or low back pressure suppressors. It's yet another difficult system to suppress. So if you don't have a full back pressure suppressor or a very low back pressure suppressor, anything in the middle just really doesn't operate well with that gun. And that's why you can see I put a muzzle brake on there, because I just decided you're not going to see a suppressor anymore. There's no suppressor that fits you well. All right, moving further down the line, we've got a really weird one. It's an AK-74 SBR, short-barreled rifle. So some time ago, I had registered it. And the problem with AK-47s is they overgas like crazy. Most of us already know that. So when you add a suppressor to an AK-47 or AK-74, it needs to have like really low back pressure for it to be effective. Not only that, on this AK-74, there's almost no shoulder. So a big issue in mounting your suppressor devices or muzzle devices is you have to have enough shoulder to put a shim kit in order to get the suppressor and the mount to face the correct direction. Well, all of the Huxwrx muzzle devices, their muzzle brake and flash hider, really don't require timing. So you can screw it onto almost anything. So already I'm happy with what used to be the Flow K and now the full-size Flow's mounting solutions. Also, there's no collar for a secondary latch because it creates a torque as you're firing that it tightens itself on. So there's a few good merits already from the 556K that I'm seeing in the full-size 556. And now I'm applying it to a handful of weapons that I have not yet applied it to. So we'll see how it performs today. All right, green tip ammunition. Let's watch for ejection path. That ideal ejection path, we add a suppressor, hopefully it stays on that same path. It does with the Flow K. With everything else, it's like forward and aggressive. Same exact ejection path, really soft shooting. You can probably see a difference in the recoil I'm feeling. Now without the suppressor, there's a little bit of movement, and with the suppressor, it's just way softer shooting. Same pile from first shot to last shot, and that's with green tip. So really, really good on this platform. Let's try another one. All right, if we're gonna have trouble, I expect it to be on this one. Okay, here we go. Forward ejecting up and over the camera. A little bit further right on that one. See what happens when we add our suppressor. A lot of ways this can go wrong. Find out. Same exact ejection path, maybe another foot further away. I think shot 2 went a little further, but I mean, right on track, and it makes for a very soft shooting gun. Okay, I'm starting to really like this. One without ears. That really wasn't bad. Definitely there is better sounding suppressors, but compared to the K, I mean, this is night and day. The K, if I do one round on a 16-inch gun, it rings my bell. And I believe this is like a 12-inch. Obviously, it's a 5.45 by 3.9, but it is not ringing my bell at all. One more. Okay, I'm starting to like Huxwrx. This is cool. All right, next gun. All right, so for this part, as I mentioned, this has 2 settings. I'm gonna leave it the unsuppressed setting, but I wanted to compare the muzzle device to the suppressor, because this muzzle device from LWRCI is I think it's called like their ultra static or something like that. It is very soft shooting. So I wanted to leave it in the configuration that I fell in love with and then add the suppressor and see if it still shoots as soft with the suppressor. So I'm gonna have to remove this and then I'll put on the full size flow, and then I'm gonna also play with the K and see how it performs without ears. All right, here we go. So soft shooting, almost like it has no recoil. Okay, clear. I'm going to remove the muzzle device, and I'm going to remove the crush washer. Many of us already know, and some of us hopefully don't have to find out the hard way, but a crush washer is not a good thing to have behind your muzzle device when you're using a suppressor. It does create a rearward pressure, and you can see there's a very small shoulder here. That's another thing, just like that 8K74, that makes it very problematic to suppress. If you use shims to time your muzzle device, because many muzzle devices require timing, if a shim hops over that shoulder, it will cause a baffle strike. So a muzzle device like this that requires no timing, just screw it on, is a big plus. Okay, that's on tight. Start with the Flow 556K, the one that rings my bell, and let's get her loaded up. Slight increase in recoil, but not much. Kind of rings my bell. That's a bit too much. Okay, let's throw on the full size, see if it's similar. Okay, full size. That wasn't bad at all. Let's get a few more in it. It's got like a hing to it that I can hear from behind the gun, but it doesn't hurt my ears at all. I mean, I would say that there is quieter suppressors, but this one sounds very good on a 16-inch. That K, if you're wearing Air Pro all day on a range, who cares? It sounds suppressed. But this sounds a whole lot better for sure. You got your ears off too?
Yeah, just that loud ping.
It's got a hing to it, but it sounds good. Yeah, on the 16-inch and then on the 8K74 it sounds. Maybe we go back and we do that 10.3-inch and really put it to a test and see how that sounds. Because this sounds good. And I've tested the QD. The QD was the model before the Flow 556K, and it rang my bell. And it was similar in size, but it was, you know, definitely a different metal, a lot heavier, and it's softer shooting because it's so heavy. But I didn't even bring it out today because I don't really like that silencer. It's too loud, it's offensive. The K sounds better, but both hurt my ears. Last time I did it on a 16-inch, I was ringing for a while. This is totally non-offensive, at least to my ears. This is totally non-offensive. Let's throw this on the shorty and see what happens. All right, for science, it's probably gonna ring our bell a little bit, but the 10.3 with green tip, so let's make this even harder on this suppressor, might ring our bell. Yeah, you know, it's got a deep pitch to it, which is good, but I would not recommend doing that. Okay, the full size, hopefully this sounds a lot better. Sure does look good. It's got a hing to it, but this isn't bad at all. It really isn't bad. It really isn't bad. And it's ejecting that same path. This sounds good. Even with green tips, it's going to the same path. Huh. Okay. The K, I had my opinions. The QD before it, I had my opinions. They had the over-the-barrel system back when they first launched, and I had my opinions, and they might have changed my mind. This is, maybe I was too aggressive with the sales rep I was talking to, because this does sound a whole lot better. Not just does it sound good, but with the mounting solutions, with its ability to hop from host to host without really any tuning, and especially working on some really hard hosts, this gun is problematic for suppressing. The AK-74 is very problematic for suppressing, and this just conquered that like nothing, and it sounded pretty darn good. Again, one more disclaimer. There are some silencers that do sound better, and I don't know if it's quieter or if it's just without the hing sound to it, but this is good. This is really good. I dig this thing a whole lot. It could be that Huxwrx has changed my mind. Okay, so if you like Huxwrx or you're considering Huxwrx, maybe don't do what I did. Don't get the QD, don't get the Flow K, get the full size, and you might be happy with the results, especially if you're a guy who passes around to a lot of hosts. I wanted to not like Huxwrx. I was forward with my opinions in their booth, but this silencer has changed my mind. I wonder if the 762 one is any good as well. It might be. I know we're going to see them soon, but it might be worth investigating their 762 because there's a lot of 762 hosts that have the same problem with high back pressure suppressors or even medium back pressure suppressors. If it solved the 556 and 545x39, I wonder if they've done the same with the 762. All right, guys, if you like this content, you want to see more, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the comment section. As always, stay safe.